Good morning from Kansas. It's Laura, and I would like to welcome you to the Healing Path. Uh, I'm the founder of Dancing with Ease, Body Brain Balance, and I got an idea as part of uh, what was helping me through the COVID thing was to take care of myself, to do healing work on myself, and I got this idea to share some of the great information that my friends and colleagues who are working in the healing field are doing. And so today, our guest is going to be Monika Volkmar, and she's going to talk about using movement to set your body free. And Monika and I are both dancers, well, former dancers. We met through the field of dance. And one of the most foundational things about this, my approach to the healing path, and the people that I bring to you to listen to and meet, is that everybody is thinking that the real healing, you might need to go to a doctor, you might need to do all kinds of things, but the awareness of your own self, what's happening in your own body, and what you can do inside yourself with your mind, with your own self, with your own body, through movement, through meditation, that healing starts first with you and then expands outward. Now, I think that it really does augment all kinds of other treatments. So here's Monika coming into the broadcast studio. She'll tell you a little bit about her history, and then we'll talk about movement. Hey, Monika, thanks so much for joining today.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for having me.
So let's see. We met when you were doing your very first Dance Stronger program. So maybe you want to share a little bit about how you added fitness and training to your dance training and why.
Sure. So I love what you said about it needing to start with us and healing ourselves and then expanding that outwards. Just today, I had the thought, I was going for a walk in the ravine here, which is a healing practice in itself. And I had this thought that what if I needed to have my dance career and have it fail to remember who I am and to get back onto a healing path? Because it wasn't really an enjoyable experience, my dance career. For starters, I started dancing because my parents put me into it. And it's not that I didn't love it, but it wasn't my decision. It was their decision. And you're a kid, so you just do what your parents do. Like, get out of the house, so we need to put our kid in something. So, Monika, go take some dance classes. I ended up loving it and being pretty good at it, good enough to do it as a career or to train for it as a professional career path. However, I think it was around the age of 14, I started to realize that it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me because I'm not the kind of person that does well with all the criticism and the focus on how your body looks and the intense competition and being surrounded by, to be honest, a lot of people that we're all in the same boat together. We're all judging ourselves and each other. That's just how it is because we're all in competition with each other. And I am not the kind of person that was passionate enough about dancing to contend with that. But I forced myself through it. And that's where I went wrong, is I kept forcing myself down that path. And I think when you choose something as a profession and a vocation that you loved, there is a risk that it ruins the love. And that's what happened for me. And I didn't realize that, and I tried to deny it, and the result was a bunch of injuries, a bunch of psychological distress. I think around the age of 14, there was such pressure that I felt on myself to conform with being a quote unquote perfect dancer, perfect body, that I developed an eating disorder. And that was a very challenging time in my life. And so I think that the whole path of having a dance career, it taught me a lot about healing. And I eventually stopped dancing when I was 22 because of a string of injuries that I finally could not ignore. I think we're only so good at ignoring pain up until a point. And at that point, when you won't say no yourself, your body will say it for you. And that for me was injuries, 3 lower back injuries in a row, a neck injury, my knees started to bug me, my hips were bugging me. Finally, I had a hamstring injury that I could not even walk anymore. So there was no way I could even force myself to dance anymore because I could barely walk to get to the physio clinic. And so at that point, that was a turning point for me. Something clicked, something woke up in my body where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Something has to change. I can't go back to being the person that I was who denied this. And it was such a blessing to have this opportunity to get out of my dance career, because as much as I love dance, having it as a career was not for me. And I couldn't see it because I so badly wanted to do what I thought I needed to do to avoid feeling guilty about, my parents made this big investment in me and taking classes, and I didn't want to let them down. So there was a lot invested in making it look like I was doing the right thing for everyone else except for myself. I'm grateful for that lesson now, and I'm grateful that that put me down this path. So after that, I realized I need to take care of my body. So what did I do? I learned to strength train, and that was great at first. But what I realize now is that I was getting stronger, and getting stronger was helping my dancing, and it was helping my body feel better, and I was empowered. But I was only really strengthening all my body's imbalances. It wasn't really correcting anything that was off. I was just getting stronger. And initially that feels good because you have this extra energy, your muscles feel stronger, you start to look better just because you have more muscle definition. Something happens in the metabolism where you're just more energized. But then I wasn't actually taking care of myself. I was just layering on another thing. And so then I had to strip down that layer when I started getting more pain. Like all my injuries started to flare up again. Like clearly heavy deadlifting was not the solution for my back problems. It was at first, but then it became a new problem. So then I got into body work. Around the same time, I got into doing Thai massage, and now I practice craniosacral therapy as well. And it led me down, yeah, it led me down so many beautiful rabbit holes of healing practices. And I just had this unquenchable desire to learn as much as I could. It was so selfish. I just wanted to learn how could I free myself from all the pain I was in. I really just wanted to be able to walk for 30 minutes without pain. That was it. And I think only a few years ago I accomplished that goal. It was a long process, but it was a beautiful process. It was an ugly process. It was messy, but it was ultimately so enriching. And this COVID period too has even deepened that further in ways I could not have anticipated, such as being able to run my liberated body workshop. I would not have thought to do an online workshop if it hadn't been for COVID. So in a way, it's deepened my ability to share what I've learned thus far with others.
I think that's wonderful. And something that you said that there's several things. One is you're on a journey, you're on a path. And one thing you learn leads to another thing, leads to another thing. And you keep learning. And as you keep learning, it's like peeling off layers, and you keep healing. Then this thing you said too is you said you thought it was really selfish. And I think that it sometimes feels like that from the outside world, that we're being selfish. But really, all we have is our body. And if we don't take care of it, we can't share with other people. And so while it maybe feels like at certain points, all we're doing is putting information in, that's a kind of an intake period. We need a digestion period, and then you can share it out again. And I did just do your Liberating the Body workshop, and it was great. And and I'm a little behind on the challenge because it's me, and it's every day. Doing anything every day is a little challenging for me. But if I recognize that and I accept that, then I can change. And so what you said too is you had this strong idea about what it meant to be a dancer, who you would be letting down if you stopped being a dancer. And a lot of times it's the mental healing starts the physical healing. That's kind of been my experience. And letting go of an idea is sometimes harder than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that mental idea lives in the body. Your brain has a shift, but your body still holds the memory of that. And that's why I find it so useful to have a movement practice to help you on that journey of also letting go of beliefs and ideas. Get
Yeah.
grounded in yourself.
No, it's great because it's all connected, the mind and the body. And you can have an idea, even in dancing, you can have an idea of what you want to do and your body just does not do it. And you're like, what? And so one of the new ideas, the idea of pronation, because as a little kid, my feet looked like little bare feet when I would go swimming. They were just absolutely flat on the ground. And so I spent a lot of time teaching myself to hold my arch up. So when I did your workshop and you're like, no, pronation is not, it's not a static thing. It's a thing you move through, and it's really important. That concept was really freeing to me. And then to do the workshop with you and to feel all of that movement in my foot, which I had purposely limited because I had thought it was bad. So sometimes we have an idea that we think is good, that we do, that's not good.
Yeah.
So in terms of a personal movement practice, what kind of things do you do now for yourself? Like walking, I heard you say took a nice long walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To be honest, something that I practice now is this idea I'm toying with called movement minimalism, which is doing as little as possible. Because I come from this place where I'm really extreme, and I think as dancers too, if you have done that as a serious thing, you're a bit of an extreme person where if you take one day off from doing like 3 hours of exercise, you don't know who you are anymore and you start to question your existence. That was my experience. Like if I didn't have 3 hours of classes and rehearsals, I was like, who am I right now? And so part of my process, going back maybe 5 years ago, I did this thing that I called the movement or exercise elimination diet. And it was basically identifying everything that I was doing that felt like exercise and then stopping it. Just cold turkey, just don't do it. And so it made me really think about what's the difference between movement and exercise. And that's something that I'm exploring right now, kind of as a philosophical thing, and I'm writing about it. But it's very different, the idea of movement versus exercise. And I think exercise is always something that we do to get something out of for some other goal. I think you used the term end gaining at one point, and I really loved that. When you're doing exercise, it's to create some kind of image or fulfill some kind of identity, or it's purely for an aesthetic component, and it's a very superficial layer. And it's not that exercise is bad, but if I looked honestly at my motives for it, it was all about trying to make my body look a certain way, and this fear if I stopped doing it, I'd get fat, which is not really an empowering reason to exercise. And I realized that, so I was like, shit, this has to stop. So, you can do like a food elimination diet where you take all of the things that you're intolerant to, that you know are bad for you, like dairy, gluten, sugar, stuff like that. You eliminate it for like 30 days, and then you gradually start to reintroduce the components one at a time to see what's actually useful for you, what's actually healthy for you. And I think it's useful to do that with our movement practices at one point in our lives or another too. So I had to stop doing things like heavy lifting, kettlebell swings. Anytime it felt like I needed to do an exercise just because I was worried about getting fat if I didn't do it, I tried to let go of it. And that was really, really hard. And I definitely failed at a bunch of times. But I like to call it movement minimalism now, because it's identifying the things that are actually serving your highest values and not just perpetuating some false belief system about why you need to exercise. So for example, if I looked honestly at my movement practice and what I want to get out of it, and what values that I have for myself in my life, are the choices I'm making for exercise serving those values, or are they reducing me to my false belief systems? And I'm really curious about this, and I love to help people do this investigation for themselves. I call it MESH. A movement practice must be meaningful, enjoyable, sustainable, and healthy. And if it doesn't tick any of those 4 boxes, then you got to question what you're using it for. And it's really hard to do that because we get so attached to our ways of moving. Like it was really hard to stop needing exercise to be super intense all the time. So I guess to get back to your question about what do I do now in my movement minimalism practice is I walk every day. I really only do strength training exercises that I feel provide some kind of technical learning, enjoyable experience. So I like to practice handstands because I feel like there's a lot of technique involved in it. And maybe that's my dancer self too, needing things to be like needing to understand things. Like there's definitely a progression to learning to do a handstand. And I kind of love that process of learning to do a skill. I love going on hikes. So I do movements that I know will strengthen my body and prepare me so that I can be resilient and pain-free on a hike. So things like lunges. I think it's really badass and empowering to be able to do push-ups and pull-ups. So I do those because they make me feel good to do. And I'm trying to make it not about having like a perfect body, but more about how do I feel when I'm doing these exercises? And because I can do these exercises, how do I feel as a person? So it's really basic. I do maybe like 5 exercises and walk. It's not a lot, but it feels like it's so easy to get trapped in needing to do more and more and more and searching on YouTube to find like what's the hottest new trend. Should I do this crazy hip hop spinning class because everyone is doing it and it looks like I can use it to make exercise an enjoyable experience. But if exercise isn't an enjoyable experience, I think you need to look at it and see, why are we not enjoying it? Is it because you think it should be a certain way? Like, do you think that exercise needs to be so intense that you hate it? In that case, maybe you should not be exercising so intensely that you hate it. Maybe you find a way of enjoying it, which might mean reducing the intensity so you enjoy doing it and letting go of the worries about that. Anyway, I'm rambling on quite a bit here, so.
No, I think there's a lot of good stuff in here. And one of the main important things that comes to me as a theme is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing this thing? Why do you think you ought to do this thing? Who put the idea in your head that you should do it? You're right about dancers, more, better, stronger, faster, higher. It's a trap. And it's kind of a trap, I think, in exercise too. What is enough weight to lift, right? Do I have to keep lifting more and more and more weight to keep progressing? Because at a certain point, depending on your mass, your skeleton size, and everything, you're going to hit the maximum that you should lift. And
then there's drugs for that after that point. Just the bodybuilding trap. It's like, when are you big enough? And at some point, when you exceed your body's actual parameters for how genetically you're able to grow your muscles, then you start to push the boundaries in unhealthy ways, and It's never enough, and that's
so
quite sad to see.
It's a trap. It's a trap, And then there is the endorphin trap that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to a place where, well, if I don't sweat every day, I don't feel alive. Really? Didn't you wake up this morning? Aren't you breathing? And where I live right now, you can just sweat just sitting still. So I got that one covered now. But I think what you said is really, really interesting, to listen to your body, to think about what you want to be able to do, and pick exercises that make you more able to do that. And so I was thinking about the pull-ups. I have always not been very good at pull-ups and push-ups. But I was thinking, well, for hiking, sometimes you get yourself in a place and you need to climb out of a place. And so there is a value in having a balanced upper and lower body strength, which dancers are pretty much all lower body strength in the beginning. till you start doing modern stuff and lifting and carrying.
Yeah. And even it doesn't even need to relate back to a physical value. I have one client, excuse me, that I was working with, and we were trying to do this investigation about, why are you doing this with me? Why are you my client? Why are we doing personal training? Why does it matter to you? And she had to really think about it, because yes, it was about her health and she had some pain in her body. But beyond that, one of her highest values is supporting the arts and going out to cultural events. And if her body's in pain and she can't sit and watch a dance performance, or she can't be comfortable in her body enough to go out to an event that she wants to go to, then that's reducing her quality of life. And so that was a big light bulb moment for her about why she was actually doing it in the first place. And that dictates what exercises you'll actually do. So if you're someone who really just cares about, I need my body to feel comfortable enough that I can sit, like if you also have a meditation practice and you just want to be comfortable so you can sit for half an hour without discomfort in your knees and your hips and your back, then your movement practice is going to look very different than someone whose goal is, like me, like I want to feel the empowerment of being able to do 10 push-ups. So it really guides what exercise we choose to do when we know what our highest values are in our lives. So I always love to encourage people to really take a look at that first, instead of just doing what everyone else is doing and thinking it's for you. Which goes back to what my original lesson was. Don't just dance because you think you should, because you don't know what else to do. Like, really investigate, why are you doing this? Do you enjoy it? Is it in line with your highest values?
That's really beautiful. And it's actually, what's really interesting too is yesterday we were talking I was talking to somebody else about financial health, and her thing too is, why are you doing this? Mm-hmm. What is your purpose and your goal, and what do you want? And I also really liked the idea that, exercising for something that means something to you versus exercising for an image. Like if I want to have a 6-pack abs, which would be really ridiculous at my age, but but why? Why? And then this leads to a whole exploration that might not seem like it's related to movement, but it could bring me back to movement in a much more authentic way. Mm-hmm. And then this idea that, I said yesterday in preparation for you, is that a lot of times we can injure ourselves, I think, 2 ways. Through a movement-related thing, over-moving, doing something too hard, too big, stepping off a curb wrong and falling is like a movement-related injury. Or we can hurt ourselves by being too static. Like you were talking about your client who can't sit a really long time. And in both instances, I think movement is the way back to full health. If you sprain your ankle, okay, you have to let that tissue heal. But in the healing process, you want to be keeping your body moving in balance. Then when the tissue is well enough to use again, you want to look at, like I used to have ankles that rolled real easy, right? And so then I want to learn to move in a way that's more balanced, so that my ankles don't tend to roll over outside so much. So how I move helps me heal my body. But I have to first be aware of how it got injured. And I think sitting messes up. It messes up all of your coordinated movement. Mm-hmm. It just kind of, then when you get up, you're used to not moving. And maybe this is from being in school where they tell you, to sit still or something. But one of the things from your workshop, the whole thing I was looking at, working on, starting with the feet, is how everything kind of just ripples through your whole body when you are moving in an integrated way, when you are listening to your body, when you're listening to your parts. It was really fun at how you did it step by step too. Yeah. And it was like, it's like my body woke up in a new way. You know, and I
Amazing.
use it all, I use my body all the time, and I'm playing with it all the time, playing with movement all the time, thinking about things. How am I moving? Am I using too much energy for this action? But there's something about the questions you ask that made me think in a different way, which was really great, which I think is also part of moving, getting your mind to move in a different direction or in a different way.
Yeah, the whole intention of the Liberated Body workshop is to have a different experience of your body because we can only really move with the structure we have now, which is the one that we've adapted to over the course of our lives, probably unconsciously. And so if we can bring conscious awareness to those dark zones that we're not aware of, we give ourselves an opportunity to try something new. And there's a lot of resistance and fear that can come with that, which is why I'm always so amazed and proud of my students like you who go through it and they actually stick with it. It's pretty incredible because I know how challenging of a process that was for me to actually go there and to bring myself to do it. Because the initial reaction is, I don't want to do this because I have to do something different and I have to let go of that old way of doing things that I'm comfortable with. Even though it's causing me pain, I'm comfortable with it. I'm familiar with this. This is normal. And to realize that there is something more that your body can do and be and feel like means almost like becoming a new person or or realizing that there is something more and you have to take responsibility for that. And I don't know, if you're like me, it really sucks when you realize you've been avoiding something and then you have to take responsibility for it for the first time. Really sucks. Like when I realized that I had a sugar addiction. When I had to get my sugar addiction under control, oh my God, how painful was that for the first couple of years? And now I'm adapted to it, so I'm okay. I don't have cravings. But it's like that with the body too. You have to go through this adaptation period, I think, where you're really going to resist doing the work. I always tell this story about how I got into actually doing my movement homework that I knew I needed to do but couldn't bring myself to do was if you remember from day one of the workshop, we did COGS, which is feeling the movement of the spine, how it should go through the gait cycle. So with each step, your spine should be doing a particular movement. And my spine was all kinds of locked up from all my dance injuries. And I literally could not move it, except for like one segment could move. And that was not really good because, we have 33 joints to move, not just one chunk. So my daily practice was, I know I just need to do this one movement, but I can't bring myself to do it because I'd rather look at my phone and just scroll. I have the time, but I'm just scrolling through my phone. Like I'm finding distractions to avoid doing this thing and saying that I'm too busy, but I'm not. I'm just lying to myself about it. So what I did was I just had to force myself to do it at first. And what I did was in the morning every day, I made a bowl of oatmeal. And it took about 10 minutes to cook it on the stove. So I'd use that 10 minutes as my me time. I'd lie down on the floor and I'd go through one of the COG exercises that we did in the workshop. And I'd just do it until my oatmeal was cooked, no matter how much I didn't want to do it. Because it gave me this definite period of time at which there was a start and there was an end. Like it's not going to last forever. I know I'm going to suffer for 10 minutes doing this thing that I hate doing right now. But then something beautiful happens, and the thing that you need to do eventually becomes the thing that you want to do. And I think that's when there's a change that you notice has happened in you. But at first, you're not going to want to do it. And that's the hard part, right? Is just getting yourself to start.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is, and I love how you tricked yourself, right? That's a great tool for anybody to use. You don't have to do it forever. You don't have to do it a really long time. Just this little short period of time, which for me, I'm doing my exercise. I don't have to empty the dishwasher, or something like that. I take something else off my plate that I didn't want to do more than I didn't want to do.
That's very clever, Laura.
Yes. But see, these are the games we can play with ourselves. And if we see ourselves playing these games and we have fun doing that, right? And accepting it and the idea, I'm thinking now, I'm thinking about dancing and how you learn to hold your torso, especially with ballet, which is where we both started. You learn to hold your torso really still, and a movement in the spine is not really 100% acceptable, except for certain bending ways. And so then you make a habit, which then your body conforms to that habit, and then freeing it from that habit is a whole other process. And so I think the body is the most amazing thing and the most interesting thing, and full of unending exploration. I mean, when you started, who knew you would be here where you are now? And each step of the journey, something else comes up, another door opens. And craniosacral is one of my favorite types of body work, because it is so gentle and allows the body to reset itself. And that's what I think that you're talking about with the movement practices that you're doing, is letting your body return to its most optimum functioning state without excess tension, without habits, without, like if I think I should be taller. If I just think just some dumb idea like that, and then I start to sit like this is not easy. This is not good for my body. I do all kinds of crazy stuff because I think I should be taller than I am. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if I just say, well, this is who I am, and I allow my energy to be free, then I might look taller because the energy is moving. And we never know what's going to happen when we open this door to setting our body free. I think we don't know what's going to happen. And I think that is kind of sometimes scary, but I think fun. Well, you and I would say it's fun, right?
Yeah.
Down the road.
A lot of thoughts came up for me just there. Sorry to interrupt as you were speaking. As you said, like imposing an idea about how your body should move, that just reminded me of a story that I hear so frequently from some of my older female clients. Is I think in their generation, they learned that letting their hips wiggle when they walked was inappropriate because it looked too sexual or too seductive. So I have one client in particular who always told me, like, in the workshop we were practicing the pelvis hikes and drops. She told me that she deliberately trained herself not to do that because she was told, she's a very devout Christian, so, you don't want to be too overtly sassy. Right. So she trained herself from doing that, which is actually a really important joint mechanic for absorbing shock through the body when we walk. And to get that back into her system, she was like, whoa. She had been denying herself that, and to just set her body free by letting that belief go, that hiking and dropping a pelvis was wrong, and that you could actually do that and it was useful. And what kind of duress had her body undergone because of that belief? I think that's so interesting, just going back to that connectedness of the mind we put on our body. And that's actually what sorry to interrupt again, but craniosacral taught me, I think, was that my body is so much more intelligent than my mind could ever be. And my mind cannot possibly know what your body needs either. So if I claim to say, you should do this, I know that's not true because your body knows best. And that's really, it's a hard thing to package and sell to people, right? Because people want solutions. People want to be told what to do because they don't know what to do. And then to say, well, the only thing I want to sell you on is that you need to listen to what your body is saying that it needs. And I can't tell you. Like, that's hard to market, right?
We can think it's hard to market at the beginning. But what I've been thinking about, and what I love about what's happening with the healing path, is how everybody's work weaves together. Because one of the first people who talked was Colette, and she talked about radical responsibility. And that's what listening to your body is radical responsibility. If I listen to my body, I also have a sugar addiction. My drug of choice is what I always say. And but if I listen to my body, when I when I'm feeling this thing, I need something sweet. If I just pause and listen, my body's going to tell me what it really needs. Is it thirsty? Is it craving a banana, which is still sweet, right? Is it craving some raisins, rather than a piece of hard candy or something sweet to drink? And when I do that listening, then I'm being responsible to myself and to my body. But until I knew I had a sugar addiction, I wouldn't have been able to take that moment to pause and listen.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just felt the urge and solved it, which is a thing like the exercise. I need to have a stronger core. I love that one. I need a stronger core. And so I'm going to do 50 million crunches. No. No. Maybe what makes my core strong is not what makes your core strong.
Yeah. And what is core strength even? What does that even mean? I think, in the workshop, I don't know if I said this explicitly, but we didn't really do anything to do with core strength, did we? But we did a lot of movement of all the structures that compose the core. And one of the philosophies that I've learned from my mentor, Gary Ward, who is the inspiration for this workshop, it's his work really packaged in a way that's maybe a little bit more digestible for people who are not therapists and movement practitioners. But one of the main philosophies is we don't want to just stabilize our bodies without ensuring first they have all their options for movement. So in my early days of being a personal trainer, I did a lot of, the traditional stability for the core exercises like planks, dead bugs, things like that. But I never really took into consideration if a person could access their spine movement in 3 planes of motion and where their center was. Every single day in the workshop, we checked in with where are you feeling the weight in your feet? Where is your center of mass? Are you shifted more this way or that way? Are you centered? And I think if you're off center and then you strengthen that off-centered state, you're not doing yourself a service. And that's what really got me into a lot of trouble. So flipping that paradigm of core stability without first looking at core mobility, that was a big switch for me. That made a big world of difference.
Right. And this is the thing too, balance. Freedom of movement is about balancing flexibility and strength, balancing movement and stillness, balancing the tilt of your pelvis with the shift of, with the shift of your shoulders, with your head. It's just such, I could probably talk to you all day long about movement discoveries, about freeing the body from its habits of not moving, which is what I think. Habits of not moving,
but also habits of only moving one way and not having any other option.
Right. And so limited habits of limited movement instead of full range of movement. And I often, when I'm teaching Alexander technique, I remind people to look at little toddlers who are learning to walk, how freely they move. And they have no judgments about, I can't bend this way, or I can't sit down this way, or I can't get up this other way. They just have an idea and they try it and see.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong movements. We only learned that later because someone told us about it. Like pronation, not a bad movement. I like to think pronation is like going to Walmart. You want to get in and you want to get out. Don't stay too long.
It's good. No, it's good. And seeing like dancers, like a lot of times walk with duck feet. And so I decided, oh, well, that's really bad. So I decided I would walk with my feet exactly parallel. Oh my heavens. That's not natural, right?
That didn't screw you up.
It was a pretty bad screw up.
I did that too. It's all good.
I let that one go now, finally. But we get these ideas too, which is why it's really good to meet somebody, to practice with somebody, to have somebody check in on what you're doing with your body, listen to your body. But if something is not, something that's not feeling exactly right, having a practitioner to talk to is really helpful, really beneficial. And I have Monika's links are all in the description. And this video will move into the Healing Path private group so that if you had questions and you wanted to check in with her, you could connect with her there. And if you had private questions about moving your hips up and down and what the heck that means, because it really feels really good, I got to tell you. You can do that there. And if you have any questions or comments here, please drop them down, and I'll see you. What is tomorrow? Wednesday? Yeah, tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday, for strange and interesting times. Monika, thank you so much for sharing your joy of movement, your beautiful perspective. You know, I love that, going on an exercise diet. I've been doing that without, I wasn't consciously doing it. So now, but since I did it, right, I took everything out, I can start to add back consciously the things that are most freeing and joy producing. Tell me your MASH thing again.
Oh, mesh, meaningful, enjoyable, sustainable, and healthy. And I think that goes for all things, not just movement. If we can meet those criteria, we're on the right path.
I think so. Thank you so much. And I really am glad you had time to do this. Talk to you soon.
This was lovely.
Bye-bye.
Bye.